Have you ever wondered, what if The Last of Us wasn't just a game or a TV show, but a real threat to humanity? A fungus that hijacks your brain, takes control of your body, and turns you into a walking husk with no will of your own. Sounds like pure science fiction, right? Well, what if I told you? Nature already pulled it off, but with ants. Meet Cordyceps, the real-life mind control fungus. It infects insects, takes over their nervous system, and forces them to do its bidding, all before killing them in a way that's straight out of a horror movie. So could something like The Last of Us actually happen to humans? Is there even a remote chance a parasite could turn people into mindless hosts? Today on AI Talks, we're diving deep into the science of Cordyceps, the terrifying world of parasitic fungi, and just how close we really are to living in our own zombie apocalypse. Let's begin. Cordyceps sounds like something straight out of a science fiction novel, but it's not. It's a genus of parasitic fungi, with over 400 known species, and it specializes in doing one thing really, really well, turning living creatures into helpless hosts. But let's break that down. In the insect world, Cordyceps is a nightmare. The most famous species? Cordyceps unilateralis, often nicknamed the zombie ant fungus. Here's how its horror story plays out. An ant, minding its own business, comes into contact with microscopic fungal spores. The spores latch onto the ant's body, piercing through its exoskeleton with tiny filaments. And once they're inside, they begin to grow, slowly, methodically. The fungus spreads through the ant's body, sending out root-like structures that snake through its tissues. But it doesn't kill the ant, not right away. Instead, it hijacks the ant's nervous system, forces it to climb upwards, away from its colony, onto a leaf or a branch at the perfect height and humidity. When it gets there, the fungus forces the ant to bite down hard, locking its jaws onto the plant in a death grip scientists call the death bite. And then, the ant dies. Over the next few days, a stalk erupts from the back of the ant's head, a grotesque fungal growth that eventually bursts, raining spores onto the forest floor, ready to infect the next victim. Brutal, efficient, and disturbingly real. Now, let's pause for a second. It's one thing to watch zombies in a movie. It's a whole different level of creepy to know that nature actually has a mind control parasite in its playbook. But how does this fungus pull it off? Is it really mind control? And could anything like this ever work on humans? Let's dig deeper. So, how exactly does Cordyceps pull off its grotesque takeover? Does it hack the brain? Does it send mind control signals? Or is it something even creepier? Well, for a long time, scientists weren't sure. But recent research has revealed something surprising. Turns out, Cordyceps doesn't actually invade the brain at all. Yep, despite all those horror stories when researchers dissected infected ants, they found the brain untouched. Instead, the fungus wraps itself around the muscles and nervous system, like a puppet master pulling strings from the outside. It releases a cocktail of chemicals, some we still don't fully understand, that disrupt the ant's natural motor functions. Imagine someone grabbing hold of your tendons and making your arms move, without you wanting them to. That's basically what the fungus does. It seizes control of the ant's muscles, overrides its instincts, and forces it into that death march. All while the ant is still alive, but powerless to stop it. Even creepier? Scientists believe the fungus somehow preserves the ant's life just long enough to make sure it completes its final task, clamping down in the perfect spot for the fungus to spread. This is nature operating with chilling precision. And it's not just ants. Cordyceps infects caterpillars, beetles, spiders, even tarantulas, each with its own tailored strategy of infection and control. In some species, the fungus even manipulates behavior in ways we barely understand, making insects climb, burrow, freeze, or act against their survival instincts. It's like evolution has designed a master class in parasitic control. But could something like this ever evolve? For humans? Here's the million-dollar question. Could a fungus like Cordyceps ever infect humans? Or worse, control us? Short answer? No, at least not yet. Cordyceps is highly specialized. Each species targets a specific insect or arthropod honed by millions of years of evolution. They've adapted to the unique biology, immune systems, and environments of their hosts. And humans? We're a completely different playing field. Our immune systems, body temperatures, and nervous systems aren't remotely like those of insects. Cordyceps spores simply can't survive inside a human body. They die off or get destroyed before they could ever take hold. So, does that mean we're completely safe? Well, here's where things get a little uncomfortable. Because nature isn't static. Evolution is relentless. And fungi are among the most adaptable organisms on Earth. Over time, thousands or millions of years, fungi can shift, mutate, and jump hosts. It's happened before. Ever heard of zoonotic diseases? Those are diseases that started in animals and then made the leap to humans. The flu? Started in birds and pigs. HIV originated from primates. COVID-19? Believed to have jumped from animals to humans too. And fungi? They've been making headlines in recent years for emerging diseases. Take Candida auris, a drug-resistant fungus that infects humans and is alarmingly hard to treat. Or Aspergillus, a common mold that can cause deadly infections in people with weakened immune systems. And unlike bacteria or viruses, fungi are biologically closer to us, which makes them harder to treat. So even though Cordyceps itself isn't a threat right now, the idea of a parasitic fungus adapting to humans, it's not totally outside the realm of possibility, especially when you factor in two big modern challenges. Climate change. As global temperatures rise, fungi are being forced to adapt to warmer environments. Some scientists worry this could make them better suited to survive in human bodies. Global travel. We move around the planet faster than ever before. An outbreak in one corner of the world could reach everywhere within days. So while the Last of Us scenario is still science fiction, fungal threats in general, that's a real concern for scientists today. So, Cordyceps isn't going to turn us into zombies tomorrow, but nature has a habit of surprising us. And when you look at the strange ways fungi and parasites can manipulate life on this planet, you start to wonder, are there already diseases or parasites out there that mess with humans in a way that's just as creepy? Stick around, because next, we're talking about the real-world parasites that actually do affect human behavior. And trust me, some of them are nightmare fuel. Let's talk about The Last of Us, the game and the show that put Cordyceps on the pop culture map. In their world, the Cordyceps fungus mutates, jumps from insects to humans, and causes a global outbreak that collapses civilization. The infected lose control of their minds, becoming aggressive, violent, and inhuman. Society falls apart. But how much of this is grounded in real science? Let's break it down. What they got right, parasitic fungi exist. Absolutely true. We know Cordyceps manipulates insects, hijacking behavior with terrifying precision. Spore-based infection, also true. Fungal spores spread easily in nature. Some fungi even use airborne spores to infect new hosts. Global spread potential. Sadly, yes. As we've seen with viral pandemics, a new pathogen, fungal or otherwise, could spread worldwide in weeks, given modern travel and trade. What they got wrong or bent the science on, fungi jumping to humans overnight? Nope. This would take a massive evolutionary leap, not a single mutation. Mind control in humans, much harder. Humans have complex nervous systems, advanced immune responses, and a brain structure Cordyceps has never encountered. Aggressive zombie behavior, pure fiction. Parasites can tweak behavior, sure, but turning humans into hyper-aggressive monsters? That's horror movie magic. Now, that's not to say a biological catastrophe is impossible, but if it happens, it's more likely to be a mutated virus, a bacterial superbug, or even a climate-adapted fungus spreading like wildfire. It won't be a zombie horde. Still, credit where it's due. The Last of Us took real science and turned it into a terrifyingly believable story. It's grounded just enough in reality to make you wonder, what if? Here's where things get unsettling, because while Cordyceps isn't infecting humans, there are real parasites and diseases that can mess with our minds and behavior. Let me introduce you to a few of them. Rabies, i.e., nature's rage. Virus rabies is a viral infection with one of the highest fatality rates known. Once symptoms start, it's almost always fatal. But here's the kicker. Rabies affects the brain, causing aggression, hallucinations, paranoia, and a fear of water. In animals, it makes them hyper-aggressive, increasing the chances they'll bite and spread the virus. If any virus in nature looks like a real-world rage virus, this is it. Thankfully, we have vaccines, but if left untreated, it's a horror story waiting to happen. Toxoplasma gondii. The mind control parasite, this one's straight out of a sci-fi novel. Toxoplasma gondii is a parasite that lives inside cats and infects other animals, including rodents, and yes, humans. In mice, it does something bizarre. It rewires their brains to make them lose their fear of cats. Why? so they're easier prey, helping the parasite complete its life cycle inside a cat's digestive system. And in humans, studies suggest it might subtly affect behavior, linked to risk-taking, slower reaction times, even mental health issues like schizophrenia. It won't turn you into a zombie, but it's proof that parasites can manipulate mammals, including us. Cordyceps in the future? Maybe. While there's no human infecting Cordyceps, the concept of behavior-altering parasites is very real. Scientists continue to study how fungi, viruses, and parasites interact with the nervous system. And with genetic engineering on the rise, it's not impossible that someone could create a pathogen designed to alter behavior. Does that sound dystopian? Yes. Is it pure fiction? Not entirely. So while The Last of Us might stay in the realm of fiction, the idea that living organisms can hijack behavior, that's a very real, very creepy part of nature. And it's a reminder of how much we still don't know about the organisms that share this planet with us. But before we wrap up, let's talk about why this matters. Why understanding parasites, fungi, and nature's dark side might be more important than ever. So if Cordyceps isn't going to bring about a zombie apocalypse, why should we care? Because even though mind-controlling fungi are a terrifying idea, the real fungal threats we face today are serious and growing. Drug-resistant fungal infections. Over the last few decades, scientists have been sounding the alarm on a different kind of fungal danger: antifungal resistance. Much like how bacteria have evolved resistance to antibiotics, certain fungi are becoming resistant to the medications we have to fight them. One of the most alarming examples? Candida auris. First identified in 2009, this fungus spreads in hospitals and is deadly for people with weakened immune systems. It resists most antifungal drugs, spreads quickly in healthcare settings, and has already caused outbreaks worldwide. And it's not alone. Other fungi like Aspergillus and Cryptococcus have also shown growing resistance. The problem? Unlike bacteria, fungi are much harder to treat because they're biologically closer to humans. So the drugs that kill them often risk harming us too. Climate change and fungal evolution. Here's where things get even more concerning. Fungi are adapting fast. Global warming means average temperatures are rising, and fungi that used to thrive only in cooler, damp environments are now adapting to survive at higher temperatures. Why does that matter? Because the human body is around 37 degrees Celsius, a temperature that used to be too hot for most fungi. As fungi adapt to warmer climates, the barrier between safe for humans and can infect humans gets thinner. Scientists have already observed certain fungal species developing higher heat tolerance, and that means more potential for future human infections. It's a slow process, but evolution doesn't stop. Globalization and rapid spread, we live in an interconnected world. People, animals, goods, they move around the globe faster than ever. That's how viruses, bacteria, and yes, fungi can spread from a single outbreak to a global crisis in a matter of weeks. The COVID-19 pandemic showed us how quickly an unseen threat can change the world. And it forced researchers, governments, and health agencies to take fungal threats a lot more seriously. Bioengineering and the unknown finally. There's the wild card. With the rise of genetic engineering, synthetic biology, and biotech research, we now have the tools to manipulate organisms at the genetic level. For good? Absolutely. But in the wrong hands, the possibility of engineered pathogens, viruses, bacteria, or fungi is a real concern in bioethics and global security circles. And while it sounds like a movie plot, we've learned that science fiction has a habit of predicting science fact. So, could The Last of Us actually happen? No, not exactly. We're not on the brink of a mind-controlling fungus apocalypse. Cordyceps can't infect humans. And real-world parasitic fungi aren't turning us into zombies anytime soon. But nature is full of surprises. We're discovering new species, diseases, and biological phenomena every year. The more we learn, the more we realize how little we truly understand about life, especially the microscopic kind. Fungi are powerful, adaptable, and sometimes deadly. And while they may not start the next apocalypse, they could shape the future of medicine, disease, and even human survival. So the real lesson of The Last of Us isn't fear the fungus. It's this: stay curious. Respect nature, especially the parts we don't understand. And always keep learning, because in the game of life, knowledge is your best defense. This has been AI Talks, where science meets curiosity. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more weird, fascinating facts about the world around us. And remember, nature doesn't play by our rules. Stay curious and stay safe.